Holy shit. Wow. You know, I have a sixth sense on these things. During the Second World War, under the guise of various programs which I've covered in previous videos, in the German territories there were over 1,000 relocations, or Unterverlagerungs, in which factories were moved underground. These covered factories that were located into existing tunnels, mines, quarries, underground brewery tunnels, and even above-ground bunkers constructed especially for a purpose, or rail tunnels. Everything was produced, or intended to be produced, in these safe from Allied bombings. From rockets, missiles, ball bearings, switches for weapons, radios, munitions, synthetic oil, and of course, everything else that was needed to carry the war on. For this presentation, I'll be using some of the photos taken by the American investigators after the war from their report on the underground factories. I will post the full report in the members area on Lost Battlefields and on my Patreon. And given since YouTube revenue is now down to 15% of what it was just 2 years ago, joining either would be immensely helpful for me to continue. Anyway, until the Allied bombing campaigns began to dial in their targeting and really begin to inflict damage to key installations in Germany, most factories had run as previous. But from 43-44, more and more heavy air raids were carried out against German industry, especially the war-critical companies, such as hydrogenation plants, ball-bearing factories, and factories for tank and aircraft production. Initially, the idea of bunkering the armament factories was considered, but due to the shortage of building materials and the lack of workers, this idea could not be implemented at all, or only on a very small scale. The large above-ground construction sites would also be exposed to air raids. Nevertheless, construction of a number of large bunkers for the underground armament industry did begin. A good example of these are the Weingut facilities. Another alternative was to relocate the armament factories to existing and bomb-proof cavities. This option seemed to be the best solution to the problem, and a considerable number of underground relocations were built, or at least begun, some too late. From the beginning of 1944, various Reichsbahn tunnels, or old mines, galleries, and caves, were used and converted into armament factories. Often, parts of mining operations that were still active were simply confiscated or closed to normal operations. So, for example, if a mine seemed suitable for underground production, it was conveniently located and met all the criteria for a more detailed inspection. The conversion to an underground armament production facility would begin in a very short time. The rock and ice cellars of various breweries were also very well suited to the underground armament industry. Interestingly enough, years before Heinrich Himmler had his men begin to map out existing cavities and tunnels under various European cities. The underground relocations into existing cavities were construction projects of the first wave, but new tunnel systems, the so-called new tunnels, were also driven into the mountains directly according to the needs of the respective company. The best rocks for building new tunnels were relatively soft rocks such as limestone or gypsum. An existing open-cast mine made building the tunnel much easier, as the necessary overburden to ensure bomb protection was already present after just a few meters of tunnel. The underground relocations into new tunnels were second-wave projects. For the armaments industry, underground relocation was more than advantageous. The underground relocations were well protected from bomb attacks, meaning that the companies retained their machines, stocks, raw materials, and workers. Plant closures were also avoided, and the most important arguments was that the Reich covered all construction costs. This meant that the respective armament companies did not face any entrepreneurial risk despite the high construction cost and smaller production areas of the underground relocations. The client for almost all underground relocations was the OT, Organisation Tod, which received the construction contracts from the Reich Ministry of Armaments and War Economy. under the leadership of Albert Speer. The money also came from the Reich Ministry of Armaments and War Economy. A few relocation projects were also under the control of the SS. Others were built under the direction of Reich Marshal Hermann Göring. A few underground relocations were also built independently. For example, in the mountains, where the respective companies were lucky enough to have their own air raid shelters in which they simply stored their valuable machines. Because of the armaments company's underground relocation, the enemy had almost no chance of destroying the facility, if they even knew where such an underground facility was located. In addition, the enemy was also deprived of the opportunity to know how much of the war-critical goods, such as weapons, aircraft, and fuel, was still being produced in the German Reich. The underground facilities were also used to store reserves. Even the further development of new weapon systems now took place in secret. So you had an easier chance of actually researching and understanding from the code names alone what you're looking for. Let me break these down. The codenames were for underground relocations into shafts and low tunnels from the mining industry had animal names, mostly mammals such as hedgehog or mule and horse. Underground relocations into hanging tunnels, which is a mining, air raid, rock cellars, had fish names and amphibians such as perch, minnow, toad, and underground relocations into traffic tunnels had birds' names such as pheasant. Underground relocations into fortifications had pen names, such as Fort Ebenemal, for instance, was codenamed Lynx. Underground relocations into caves had coin names, such as Krone or Heller. Underground relocations into bunkers had males' first names, Paul, Peter, Valentine, so forth. Underground relocations into brewery tunnels and cellars had female first names, Lise, Meta, Nanny. Underground relocations into newly made tunnels had names from the rock signs, such as malachite, cerullite, arsen. Now, 8 projects of the first wave were underground relocations into existing cavities, such as the Reichsbahn tunnels, mines, caves, and repair and finally assembly took place. Then you had the second wave of B projects, which was relocations into new tunnel constructions, which was more the supplier industry, completement parts, and development, and the Geilberg project. Get back to that in a minute. There's the second wave, also had the Geilberg projects as underground relocations, which was for petrol, chemical, gas, paintings, and oil plants. The D projects, also of the second wave, was for the relocation of energy plants, water and air installations, as well as underground loading facilities, material warehouses, and explosive chambers. Then you had the S projects, which were special construction measures such as the Führerhauptquartier, submarine bunkers, command centers, or tank terminals. The Geilberg program was under the direction of Edmund Geilberg. It was individual projects that was given alias as project names depending on the time of relocation within the chemical industry. This could be pure production facilities, but also research centers or laboratories for developing new technologies, for example, for synthetic fuel production. Some of the Geilberg program project names were such as Beaver, Badger, Jakob, Carp, Miese, Rabe, Rust, Schwalbe. A lot of different ones here. So from now on, whenever I throw out a name of where we're going, you will of course know exactly what I'm talking about. And now we're going to the Mosel, which is not covered by any of the names I just gave you, so, well, there you go, this is Nazi Germany. Now, I have, over the years, been trying to visit all of those that were not permanently sealed or completely destroyed. And today Marcus just happened to take me to one near Wellen, right on the Luxembourg border. Here construction began in 1944, partially in an old mine, some of which is still operational today and continued operation during the relocation process. It's a bit hard to see what was, but there's a few surprises in here, as you can see. The code name was, as I told you, Mosel. The system was intended for Kugelfischer from Schweinfurt. It was intended to produce ball bearings. Remember that interesting round tunnel system with the wine cellar we saw last year. After the war, parts of the facility was then used by the French Army for fuel storage facility, which makes it quite interesting. The organization towed object number was 38, and the UV location was Mosul. The engineer is unknown as its overseeing authority. It's actually a little strange how little there is to say about this place. This is an English aerial photo from April 1944, where all the above-ground construction work, including the field railway, can still be seen, as it was being excavated into the limestone opening, in a large space leaving pillars for support. Those we will see today.
So that's the post-war fuel for the fuel system for...
Fuel system. Fuel came on with this on railway. They put it from the railway to this, and then it goes by this tube here.
Oh yes.
It goes up the hill, and it went to this lager.
Okay. So yeah, so right across the road there is Luxembourg, and here was the little rail.
Typical French army barracks. There had been thousands of these barracks in Rheinland-Pfalz in the French zone, but nobody knows. It was made by Siegner Aktiengesellschaft in Geisweid. Geisweid produced this thing only just until 1952, but this was part, they called in German Wellblechprogramm, and they were even built also for Reichsarbeitsdienst.
So the Germans built barracks both for the French and for the Germans?
First built during the Third Reich, and then after the war produced for French army.
By the same German company?
By the same German company, and probably it's possible that the French army put some original barracks from Second World War to their own plans and rebuilt them there.
And this was a French army initiative for the fuel.
Yes.
They're going through here.
It was first used by the French army and afterwards used by the NATO, because there are inscriptions in English too.
Ooh, all right. And he's opening the gate. Well, ain't that just bloody dandy? I was expecting you're going to walk up here and going to go, well, it's closed because everything is closed, and then you open the gate. Is there a secondary tunnel up there?
Yes, there is a second tunnel over there, and...
Wow. Well, let me get the light out. French post-war.
This is probably French post-war. The tunnel is probably, it's an old, es ist eine alte, sagen wir mal, Bergwerksanlage, um Kalk abzubauen. Die leeren Stollen wurden sowohl, they were used for this Untertageverlagerung, but for this depot from the French army too. What was used for what, I don't know. But here you can see, this is unfinished.
Well, the floor is pretty damn straight. But this is typically how the U-Anlage was built. Into the rock with a floor used for storage.
These are also in the gasoline depot, and this type of lamp is the same as they used in German times. If they're built for the French army or used by the Untertagelfront, I don't know.
I mean, if it was almost finished when the war ended for this tunnel, possibility is that the light would have been installed, wouldn't it? Well, we're close to wine country. So this is literally what a lot of these were, just literally a hallway, a tunnel into a mountainside. And sometimes they would come in and there would be a few turns and another way out. And then there's a wine barrel. But a lot of these U-Anlage, this is just what they were. Just a dip into the mountain.
Also hier, das hat man nachträglich dabei gemacht.
Ja.
So.
Oh, and here's a lamp that's in one piece. And then some of them were bigger and some of them were smaller. And it's quite dry in here, actually. There's not a lot of moisture, a lot of wet coming down from the ceiling. Don't know what the scaffolding is for. But for storage of equipment and stuff, this would be perfect. It probably would be getting a little damp. Other than that, wow.
Rückleitern. This was used after the French army to depot for juices, fruit juices from Merziger company.
Oh, so that's why the plastic tube. This just looks amazing. Look at this, it's so amazing. It's just, you come through the forest. I see the rubble, I get worried when I see rubble. Now as you see the staircase up to this huge tunnel entrance. That's amazing. And of course, Marcus is already up there. That man's a machine. I'm just saying, when I get older, I want to be in his shape. Oh hell, I want to be in his shape now. I know kids who are 25 who's not in as good shape as that man. Wow.
So I mailed to this group, but I never got an answer.
This is really a construction, isn't it? This is optimistic. I'm gonna have to try. Yeah. Look at this. This is a real construction project. Cement rebar pillars. And I think there's multiple tunnels here. Wow. Wow, look at that. Look at all this infrastructure at this entrance. Somebody's caretaking these. They're not very good at responding, unfortunately. But I wanted to show you how extensive some of this construction could be. I mean,
this photo is from 1946, and you can still see the tunnel entrance and the ventilations to the side. This is from level 2, also in 46. This is a place I would like to see closer.
of course there would be a little foreman hut here. One of the steel doors. One of the motors. This will be the French technology for the fuel storage.
Und das habe ich alles auch schon fotografiert.
Ist das so ein Nachtkrieg?
Das ist alles Nachkrieg, die Weine. Ja, das ist jetzt alles französisches Spritzdepot.
So this was where after the war, the French used this for storage of champagne or wines. This would be wines. This is wine country.
After the French had sold it
After
to this company of TKDZ, Trierer Dolomit und Kalk-Zementmischwerke. The owner was a Mr. Schnuch, and he had his private wine cellar in these things.
Oh, a private wine cellar.
This is from the French army.
Yeah.
It's after the war, after the French thing, because these are from the United States, these batteries. I know them from a plant where they cut the I don't know the word in English, bly. Because here is US.
You know, it's very interesting, and I haven't found out why, but in an underground factory in Austria, old wine cellar that the Germans used for some sort of production with Siemens, we found in the rubble American batteries.
Here, press to light, US. I think they are dated on one side.
But yeah, they're newer. Yeah, this is the French yellow, isn't it? That was from the French army for when they had fuel in here, wasn't it? You don't need that much ventilation to store champagne or wine.
And these are the... Du hast ja von unten die Leitungen gesehen.
Mhm.
Jetzt kommen die hier an, die gehen hier rum.
I see it there, yeah. Connects there. That's some serious ventilation. But this was all dug out during the war.
No, this was dug out before the war.
Before the war.
And the empty rooms were used by the Untertageverlagerung.
So here's, so this was a connecting wall. Do we know what the German army wanted to store in here if it had been finished?
They don't want to store something, they want to produce something.
Oh.
They produce by Kugelfischer, Kugellager.
Ah, another ball bearing factory. This was a massive project. Okay. Wow.
So, und hier hast du nur einen Tank und hier nebendran in dem Raum geht das dann richtig tief in den Berg hinein. This was very deep in the mountain and we have a lot of these tanks. This is one of the petrol tanks from the French army.
This looks exactly like the water or fuel tanks at Festa de Damen. Same size, same mounting. But I mean, how many ways can you mount fuel tanks or water tanks, honestly? Yeah, the ventilation just continues. Oh. Isn't that Wehrmacht Grau?
Nee, das ist Nachkrieg.
Nachkrieg?
Die Wehrmacht hatte alle solche verzinkten Fässer, die viel dicker waren. Ja, dummerweise gibt es jetzt keine Verbindung hier durch. Hier hinter ist jetzt das gesamte Spritdepot, aber es sieht dann eigentlich überall so aus wie hier.
Ja.
Du hast dann halt nur unendlich viele Tanks hintereinander.
So is there a Verein that's taking care of this, or is there a Verein that's taking care of the tunnels, or is there anybody to contact? Who?
Yes, you can contact this Luxembourgian firm, but they didn't answer me.
Still impressive, it is. Impressive it is. Actually pull the air. It's the pipe. And there's a bat. Again, his name is Fred. Same bat, it's my pet bat. We team up on things. Why did I do that?
Kannst du mir das nochmal anleuchten? Nee, das, danke.
Of course. The most important thing is to document everything you see. That's why I...
Alles schon wieder viel mehr kaputt, als ich das letzte Mal da war. Hier ging es dann früher zu dem Weinkeller. Der war dann mal irgendwann auf. Da siehst du ja auch noch eine Flasche. Ja. From the ramp we had before with this French barracks, things were transported by state railway to this place. A small railway goes in this direction and came back and crossed this valley here by a bridge. You can see the ground of one place from this, and you can see the rest here.
Oh wow, yes.
This is the beginning of the bridge. And then the train goes there in this direction, and there are a lot of another holes in the mountain. And I think the German Untertageverlagerung was more in this direction. They probably used this too, but I don't know. And the French army, the first they did after the war, they blow up the bridge.
That they would have used when they moved in later. Well, that's well thought out. So, did they blow up these tunnels here as well, or are they still there?
The tunnels are still existing.
See the tunnel entrances? This is the rail ramp that would then come in here. There's a little bridge in front of it. And we'll see when we go up here. But it's amazing how much of this that's left hiding in the forests. So this is the old gate. This is where that ended.
Yes.
So the French military line stops here. And I mean, some of these really do look like collapsed tunnel entrances, but they will be too close. So,
And when we go, this is the place of the railway line.
and this railway line existed from the time of the war, at the end of the war.
Yes. This is from the Untertageverlagerung.
Yes, we'll see we are on a straight rail platform with potential tunnel entrances to our left. Like that one. And then there's this. Well, that looks familiar.
And when you go inside, there are in this direction and in this too. And we can see, wir können gleich mal in einen ebenerdigen Eingang gehen. Da siehst du die Verbindung. Aber hier ist es genauso, wie du es in Polen beschrieben hast. Hier drin sind Autoteile, racks of cars and news and terrible.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
expecting.
it's very, very, very muddy inside.
You don't have to come.
And you risk to get something on your head. It's not undangerous to climb there.
Good. That's how I feel. That is how I like to live my life. What? So there's a cable. I don't know why. Oh, and this is where the rail would have run. All these metal, I've seen these before. Holy donkey. Big stuff. Big holes. Lots of water. Lots of tires, so must be World War II. Wow. Holy. Wow. And that one is sealed up modern, that side, for some interesting reason. That wall. You know, my birthday is coming up, and this is the kind of thing I want for my birthday. Wow. Oh, I can also go this way. Woo-hoo. Holy shit. I knew that was a destroyed tunnel entrance in that direction. I just knew it. What was the code name for this? Oh shit, I'm leaving you without light.
Ich weiß nicht, was der Codename war. Ich wusste es mal, aber dann habe ich es wieder vergessen.
This is absolutely enormous.
Ja, das ist schon der Horror. Aber hier siehst du jetzt, wie sie Schutt abgeladen haben.
Yeah, all the crap. I'm looking at the space. The space is this is actually flat in here. So I'll swing the light a little bit because we only have one. Oh, geez, this is. You know exactly what I wanted for my birthday, didn't you? Jesus Christ. But I mean, it was optimistic to work on this all the way up until the Americans showed up. Because where are you going to go with this? And this is where the roof collapsed down to there. Ain't that special? And there's where the roof collapsed from there. I feel so privileged that I'm standing under all of this. I don't even want to look up. Oh, Jesus Christ. You have a light on your phone, right?
More light.
All right. Well, don't move for a minute. I promise I'll be back. Wow. There's actually a path over here.
Here they had constructed 2 million square feet for production, while mining would still take place on the lower third.
There we go. There's
Jetzt hör mal hier.
Nee, mit Handy.
Nee, ich
Hier.
hab keine.
Hab ich auch gedacht. Ah, here. Not here. There's a path over there leading that way. And there's one of the old original lamps.
So, Timo, wir müssen aber langsam wieder raus, ich muss nach Hause.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Also du kannst jetzt hier und dann kommst du zu einem ebenerdigen Eingang. Der ist aber zugeschlossen.
This is just amazing.
Aber du weißt ja jetzt, wo es ist.
Ja.
Du kannst ja jederzeit wieder hingehen. Und vor allen Dingen, das gibt es hier überall. Also es gibt es auch über den nächsten Orten.
This is just an amazing workspace. 56.8. You still actually have the numbers on the pillars. You got to help me find the code name for this, even if it didn't happen. And that looks like one of the original lamps. Wow, just wow. This is scary because now I know where it is. Shows me the biggest tunnel system I've seen in as far as I can remember. He says, oh, by the way, I gotta go back to work, he says. That's just cruelty. Cruelty, I say. These metal plates, things I have seen before. These in tunnel systems.
Das ist nicht alt.
Are you sure?
Ja.
It looks. I've seen them.
Ja gut, es kann sein, dass es die noch schon gibt.
This was amazing. I guess that's the original wood. All the rock we're walking on came from there. Nice little collapse. Let's stagger over that. Let athletic billy goats.
This is entrance number 4 out of 3 levels of this site. All were to be used, and the machinery was installed here. However, rushed to be dismantled at the onset of production, just as the Allies were closing in.
This is the most amazing place. I had not expected to see anything like this. And the man who had to go to work keeps going. That man is like the Energizer Bunny. I love that guy. Dear damn. We really need to make him a medal. What is here? It's the front door.
Wenn du jetzt innen einen Gang quer gegangen wärst, da rausgekommen. Ich weiß nicht, ob das hier oder dieser Mast da oder but these are used by everybody during the 30s or 50s. This is a problem.
Oh, 50s too?
And this was exploited, it's richtig ausgebeutet.
Used.
Yes, they searched for chalk here since the end of the 19th century. These also diese Stollen sind zum Teil viel älter. They only went in an existing tunnel system.
Of course. And that's the smart thing. Was this a mine, or what are they looking for? Calc? What was it? Calc?
Kalk. Kalk was something very, very needful for steel production.
You think the door's closed?
Yes, it's closed.
You know, I have a sixth sense on these things. Sometimes I just know things. Sometimes I'm psychic. Sometimes I just, it's my.
This is the same in this tunnel you had been. These are stones from the 50s. They are not old.
What is this? I almost think this is like a rail. This floor has definitely been worked. Don't tell me the door's open and you can walk straight into the thing from here. Come on. I know you guys want to secure things, but you can't be this bloody stupid. Yes, you can be this bloody stupid. Because... oh, dear God. Here's the old wooden door. Who's stepping on with no grace whatsoever. Fuck me. Oh, damn. So, it's open all the way. I'm glad they closed it off so safely. That's 55. The numbers. Do you think these are new numbers or the original? I ain't no idea, right? Wow. This is almost like a rail tunnel. This is almost like a rail tunnel. What is this? Interesting. I don't think anybody comes here very much. And for your own safety, neither should you. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking to the people watching. Out of general sense of everybody's... Huh? Not the worst idea to leave here for the next guy.
Alright, the open doors was a nice touch, thank you. But they do lead into the active mining tunnel, which has been in use ever since the war, so nothing from that time will remain down there. But the other parts I still feel I have to look at more and will return to in the future. And hopefully before then I can find the plans and the aerial photos. And also I've tried to reach out to the facility that owns the fuel storage plants and have locked it off, but so far with no response. One of the project sites which is no longer really accessible, given it's back to mining use, just to give you a little information since we can't really visit it inside, the Daimler-Benz AG aircraft engine factory in Gershagen, Berlin, was subject to Allied bombing raids from the beginning in March of 1944. The factory there was so badly damaged, and already a few days after, it was decided to move it. And a mine near Obringheim in Baden was found to have the ideal conditions, and in mid-March 1944, the first 500 forced laborers from Dachau was transferred to the site to begin expanding the mine and building new factory facilities. All the plants were set up here in the existing mine were codenames from fish, and the plant at Obringheim was codenamed Goldfish. The relocation of the factory machines and about 5,000 workers and technicians took place in early May 1944. The factory predominantly made engines for the Me-109 and was scheduled to be one of the largest underground factories in Germany. During the summer, the expansion continued and the production machines were made ready. The first engines began to leave the factory in October 44. The plan was to produce 500 new engines per month and to rebuild and modernize another 350. However, supply problems and the military situation stopped production in March of 45, when the 330-meter-long railway bridge over the Neckar River was blown away. Subsequently, the factory was evacuated. When the Americans arrived at the scene in the beginning of April 45, they found an empty factory. After the war, Baden-Württemberg became part of the American occupational zone. Induced by the Americans, most of the machinery was moved to the Soviet Union as war reparations. In 1971, the last remnants of the railroad bridge were removed. In 1999, a memorial exhibition opened to commemorate the 250 slave workers who had died here. Goldfish had approximately 50,000 square meters of workspace. The number of transferred machines here was 2,091. It employed approximately 5,000 concentration camp prisoners and 4,400 Daimler-Benz workers, both male and female. There was also free foreigners, the Western workers were both men and women from Scandinavia and Western countries, and approximately 800 SS prisoners. There was 300 guards and an unknown number of workers from construction companies under the contract with Daimler-Benz. And all in all, 10,000 people worked here.
Really, really well hidden. This is where we're going. Daimler-Benz was installed here in a rail tunnel during the Second World War, producing engines. So, let's go see if we can actually chop our way through and find the entrance. And you see the sides, the walls of the entrance here, carved out of rock. And as I walk, I'm walking on stones. It looks very much like rail stones. I don't know if this tunnel was reverted to rail use after the war, but somehow I don't think so. This is well overgrown, but I see no signs of cement structures, buildings. They were here, but well, see what we see inside. This was probably a beautiful tunnel once, and I'm seeing something that troubles me greatly. I'm seeing a large door that appears closed. That does not work for me. What the hell? I am not in favor of this.
As you can now begin to understand, there's a lot of different places to visit, or try to visit, in order to discover the old underground production sites. Some of them are genuinely too dangerous to visit, but many of them are also sealed off for other reasons, mainly that what was done here, of the special programs and of research, is not in the interest of various governments to explore. There are many files missing, as the Americans removed large amounts of materials, machines, and research before having to hand some over to the Red Army. These files are in some cases still classified or missing, and several specific tunnel factories have been outright destroyed or permanently sealed, even without having been documented for history. This is why I try to visit these when possible. There is a lot of lessons to learn from these endeavors, and since history have a tendency to repeat itself, it might be worth it.
My name is Tino Struckmann. I run Lost Battlefields. Every year I travel around the world to try to bring you to all the most interesting historical military locations from modern wars and the World War II special projects, battlefields, forts, fortresses, and tunnels, everything else. Things you may not be able to see or go to yourselves. Please join me on Patreon or join Lost Battlefields through the website so you get access to all my files and my notes. It really does help, and like, follow, share here on the channel if you can. That helps too.